Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Boom, and welcome to the Big Honker podcast brought to you by Dirty Duck Coffee. I'm Jeff Stanfield.
I'm Andy Shaver.
With us today, Kaleigh. How do you say your last name? Leager? Leager. If you're in Louisiana, that would be Leager probably. Where are you from, Kaleigh?
So I was born and raised on Maryland's Eastern Shore, lived in Easton my whole life, recently moved to Denton, which is about 20 minutes north of Easton, so I haven't gone far.
It's pretty country over there.
It is, and a lot of people, when you say, oh, where are you from, and you say Maryland, they're like, oh, you're from Baltimore. It's like, no, not from Baltimore.
That's a whole different place, isn't it?
It really is. It's amazing what the bay in between us will do. But it's nice over here. Very rural. Very your typical farmland.
Thank God for a bay.
Just surrounded by water.
Thank God for a bay.
That's right. Amen to that.
Easton, is that where's the waterfowl museum at?
So we have the Haverty Grace Decoy Museum, which is north of us, about 45 minutes north of Easton. And then we also have the Ward Museum, which is down in Salisbury, about 45 minutes south of us. But Easton is where the Waterfowl Festival is held, which is where the World Goose is held. And actually the stage where that competition is held is the stage I walked across to graduate high school. So that's pretty neat.
Interesting. I've been to the one in Haverty Grace. That's a really cool place.
Yeah, very
really cool place. So, how does a young lady, 24 years old, how did you get into waterfowl hunting?
I could sit here all day and go through this giant long story, but the synopsis is I started clay shooting, and I kind of thought that was awesome, and I wanted to kind of find out more. My uncles goose hunted, and one day I just said, hey, can I tag along? They were more than happy. I went with them, and I was like, wow, that's something that I really want to get into. So my dad was a small business owner, and one of his previous employees went to caretake for a property in Oxford, Maryland. And it was private. It was kind of like a neighborhood, and there was some impoundments on the outskirts. And so I begged and begged and begged my dad. I said, can I please do hunter safety? He finally took me. I got that. And then I was like, can you ask Mr. Jeff? Mr. Jeff has been my hunting mentor since I was 12 when I first went hunting. And so he finally said yes. We went out that day. It was Martin Luther King Jr. Day, so I had off of school. I think it was a Monday. We went out. We got our limit of birds in 45 minutes, and the first thing I ever killed was a banded hen mallard.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so the bug bit me then, and I've been crazy about it since, but that's kind of the very short version of a long story.
Banded mallard on your first crack out of it.
First crack. Yep, I was so excited I couldn't reload my shotgun. I had to call my mom. She had no idea what a banded mallard meant, but
probably didn't give a shit
she
either.
She could hear the excitement in my voice. So
okay, so now, how'd you get into the calling?
So that stemmed from the hunting. I didn't have places to go by myself. I was like really the only person to hunt in my family. My grandfather was a deer hunter, but no waterfowl hunters in my family besides my uncles. And they weren't too serious about it. They'd go every once in a while and didn't really have land on their own. And I don't think they ever did the whole public land gig. So I thought to myself, well, a way for me to get invited is if I learn how to call, to be useful, not just have somebody tag along. So I went out and I got a red leg mallard call, a double reed. I just sat there and made noise on it. Kind of taught myself how to do a few things. Then kind of got hooked up with Sean Mann, Sean Mann Outdoors. He taught me how to duck and goose call, just the basics. A lot of practice, a lot of YouTube tutorials, and then I was lucky enough to meet up with Brad Allen at the Waterfowl Festival, who was a champion duck caller for RNT. And he got me connected with Butch Richenbach, who, we all know is the founder of RNT, and I would call him, and he would give me pointers. And then I got into competition calling, and it was, again, he was in Arkansas and I was in Easton, so it was him calling me calling him, sending him little sound bites, and him telling me, I need to go back and fix this, and just a lot of practice, and that kind of got me to where I am today.
Now, what years were you on the calling circuit? Because I know you won when you were a junior. The junior division. I'm sorry. So, what years were you active on the calling scene?
It wasn't very long. So it was like 2012 into 2013. I won everything in 2013. And then I kind of fell off of it. I've met most of my best friends from there. I have friends all over the country because of, the calling scene. I learned a lot from the calling scene. I was able to do a lot because of it, but it just got to the point where it was really expensive to travel and go to the different calling contests for, myself and my folks. And then I was in high school and getting ready to go to college. So I just kind of focused more on the hunting aspect, but was able to keep in touch with everybody.
I'll tell you what, the calling contest world is tough because it's shows and, you're always on the road if you're going to make a run at it. And you got to stay fresh. You got to stay current. You got to stay sharp. And, you're just constantly on the road. It's a different show every weekend, and it's a lot to do. So at 16, 17 years old, I can only imagine the toll it must have taken.
Now, you're married, right?
I am, yes.
Does your husband, can he call as good as you can?
Better, actually.
Well,
so
good.
it's kind of how we met. So, as the young kids say, he slid into my DMs on Facebook and was like asking a question about duck calls. And I'm like, who is this guy? So he's 6 years older than me. So he wasn't in high school when I was in high school. And so he's like, hey, I got a question about duck calls. We started chatting about that. And I came to find out that he used to competition goose call. So he actually helped out Sean Mann a lot when he was in high school. And he, won some junior contests as well. And so he's the goose caller for sure. I'm the better duck caller and he's the better goose caller. So we kind of, balance each other out when it comes to that.
So was he really just trying
fishing.
to get, he wasn't interested in calling.
No, he didn't give a crap about that. Yeah, I'm like, who is this guy? I'm going through his pictures. I'm like, God, he looks old. I'm like, what is he doing? And then, then I ended up marrying him, so it worked out. So never hesitate to message somebody.
Shit, that's
Damn,
funny.
he's old.
Damn, he's old.
Yeah, I was. I'm like, God, who is this dude? Graduated in 2009, like I was in 7th grade. What a weirdo, but
Oh, that's greatness.
Oh, shit.
yeah.
So y'all hunt together a lot then?
We do. Yep, we're fortunate enough to. And so, like I said, he was a big goose caller, and his dad and his godfather were big, big time goose guides back in the 80s when it was really hot over here. And so he was really focused on goose hunting, which again, if you're good at something, stick with it. And I was more of the duck fanatic because I duck called. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. I just thought duck hunting was cooler than goose hunting. I love to shoot geese. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing better than shooting a big old Canadian, but there was just something special to me about duck hunting. And so I really pushed him. I'm like, look, we need to do more duck hunting. We need to do more duck hunting. And, growing up and not having property, our only option really was public land. And as you all know, pretty much with any public land, it's highly pressured. You have to get there at the ass crack of dawn, spend the night before, try to get in line. So it was intimidating for us at first because we had never done it before. We didn't know what to do. We didn't know how to work these spots. And so it's been a learning curve, but the past 5 years we've both really grown in learning how to navigate it and become successful with public land. So it's good because we push each other out of our comfort zones. If you ask him, I'm too pushy, but we've really kind of gotten the hang of it, and every year it's just a learning experience. So I think that's something important to do.
Now, y'all's limits are really screwed up right now out there. They've cut y'all way back, haven't they?
Yeah, it's nuts. So the past 2 years, I believe, and don't quote me on this because now that I'm under the pressure here, I'm forgetting stuff. But it was a 30-day season. And federal law says that you have to have a split. So we were in for like 15 days, out for a week, and then we came back in. But it was only one bird per person per day, which was really crazy because no matter who you talk to, especially on the Eastern Shore, we had geese everywhere, absolutely everywhere. I mean, and so it's frustrating when you say, the numbers are like this because the breeding grounds in Canada weren't that good and the hatch wasn't that good. But we have our neighbors north of us, who can have higher limits, longer seasons. So it was a little bit frustrating for us down here. I don't know, what they're talking about for next year, but I've heard rumors of them cutting our mallard limit as well. So we'll see what happens.
That would just gut you. One of our guides, Josh Stoner, he's from Maryland, and he's I've
heard of Josh.
He's sending Snapchats. There's geese out the ass out there right now.
There is. They are literally everywhere. And we have at least like in the area that I'm at, we have a fairly healthy resident population. But when the migrators started moving in, it was just them moving all the time. I mean, and again, that's where the frustration comes. It's like, okay, you say we don't have these geese, but here they are. Why aren't we able to, harvest our fair share when, you have New York and Pennsylvania and, the northern states able to kill more for a longer amount of time? So then that's, where the frustration really set in for a lot of folks. And it's just something that we're having to deal with. I don't know how long they're kind of, going to have us on this moratorium or, what their plans are, but I can share in the frustration.
Now, do you go to any of your neighboring states to get any goose or duck hunting in?
So I go to Delaware some, not a whole lot. I'll travel for duck hunting, but for goose hunting, we really don't have to. The spot that we hunt, we're fairly fortunate enough. It's a leased property that my husband John's dad and godfather have had for a few years, and we really have to run traffic on it, and we have to put our work in. But we're usually able to get our geese, and especially now with the one bird per person, we've been able to get our limit fairly regularly. So ducks, it's kind of another story. If we kind of want to get off of the pressure of the public land. This past November, John and I went out to Idaho for some duck hunting, and that was just insane to see the amount of ducks that are out in the Pacific Flyway compared to here, especially. But I'll travel for ducks, and if geese just come in while we're there, I'm not going to say no. So I'd like to go more.
Do you shoot many ducks while you're goose hunting, or is it mostly just geese? If you're focusing just on, it's just geese.
Yep. Yes,
See, we're spoiled in the Central Flyway because we get to shoot both. Now, not every day, but there's a lot of days you shoot both ducks and geese also. Have you sea duck hunted much?
I've been one time. I killed a really nice old squall, but other than that, I have not been. That's something that my husband wants to try because I went before I knew him. Just to knock those birds off our list, but primarily we target the divers and the puddle ducks.
If I lived where y'all did, I would call Jeff Coates up, the pit boss guy, and I'd go do a hunt with him just because I would like to do that one time.
For sure. I mean, I think it's something that if you can, definitely come out and do it because it is neat, and you get the the scenery. You're either in the ocean. If Jeff usually is focused on Ocean City area, but there's out of everything that we have, especially I'm going to say within the past 3 or 4 years, I'm going to say have been sea ducks. Even our diver numbers are way down, especially in the the area of the bay where I am. There's just not the numbers, but the sea ducks have been showing up in large groups throughout the season. So I know that people have done pretty steadily throughout the year with them. So I would say that if you can come out before something happens with those limits.
Because their limit's like 4, right? Is that right?
I don't know. I'm not going to say I know. I don't know. I haven't checked because I don't do it. But I do know, I've also heard rumors that they're thinking about cutting that back next year. So I don't know what's going on or why. There's people that are smarter than I am. That make these decisions.
I wouldn't go that far. Let's don't step off on that. But you're probably going to have to move west, young lady, is what you're going to have to do probably.
Yeah, and my husband and I have really talked about that and contemplated it. For political reasons and hunting reasons, we've really considered moving out west. Like I said, when we went to the Pacific Flyway, we were blown away that hunting can be that good. It's just tough here on the Atlantic Flyway, especially the further south you go. We could talk all day about why birds aren't moving down as far. But it is, the further you go, the harder it is to kill birds. And it seems like every year that goes by, just less and less. So I definitely think the future's out west.
Go ahead, Andy.
No, go ahead.
You said that about the birds not moving. We're dealing with the same things out west.
In Texas.
In Texas.
In our
area where we are.
Neck of the woods.
But hunting, it is a completely different deal. But when I was a kid growing up, and I'd read a lot, and Sports Afield and the magazines and stuff, is that Maryland was famous for Canada goose hunting. World famous for it. That was the place to go to Canada, hunt the Eastern Shore, and it's just crazy that and they took the whole season away 15 years ago, I think, for a year or two, if I'm not mistaken, just other than just shooting locals.
Yeah, they did. So I can't remember how long the moratorium was on it, but it was a decent amount of time that you couldn't kill one goose. And that was really hard because, the people that have the industry, the guide service and everything, they're like, well, what do we do? I mean, we have ducks, but not in the capacity of number that we have geese. So that was, definitely something that hurt them and people that just wanted to hunt in general. It was very disheartening, but, there was rumors of that before. Well, are they just going to close the season? What are they going to do? They reduced it to one bird a person. They shortened our season. Again, there's talks of what are they going to do next year. And I think that's kind of in the back of everybody's minds, like, man, what are they going to do if they shut it down again? And we were the goose capital of, the continental U.S. for a long time besides Canada. And it's just really changed. Talking to my father-in-law again, who was a really big guide back in the 80s, he's like, he just doesn't understand what has happened. It's like a light switch almost.
Is it urbanization or housing complexes popping up everywhere? What do you think that it is the culprit?
I think it's a combination of things. So, like you're seeing too, it's warm. Yeah. We're having warmer winters. Up north has changed their farming practices. They're having more food for birds. It's not freezing, so why would they move?
Right.
And then when they do get down here, with the urbanization and the building and loss of habitat, and things are either super dry or super flooded, and all the birds are dispersed. I think that it's just that combination of the weather, their feeding patterns, and urbanization. I think that that's, a big key component on everything. And I know that a lot of people have different, thoughts about what the issue is. I've heard people say, oh, it's because there's too many impoundments. These birds are losing their natural ability to feed. They're relying on these impoundments. So that, they're losing their kind of radar of where to go. But I don't think it's just one particular thing. I think it's just the combination of it's not getting cold enough. They have food up north. Why move? I mean, I wouldn't if I was a bird. If I was nice and toasty with a big old buffet, I wouldn't go anywhere.
Without snowfall, it sure is pushing them or keeping them. There's no reason to move. A long time ago, you'd get snow. There'd be a snow line at Christmas that would cover probably half the United States. Well, that we don't have that anymore. We may have it for a week or two, or a week here, or a week there, but it's not widespread. And it used to be if it snowed in Nebraska in November, there was still snow on the ground in February. Well, it doesn't do that, and that's hurt because it don't cover the food up. Do you do a lot of your lady friends hunt also?
No, so that's one of the things. So when I started hunting, I was like the only girl that did it, and I mean, it really wasn't that long ago if you think about it. So I'm 24. That was about 12 years ago. I was the only girl. I was always in the blind with the guys. When, my girlfriends found out that I hunted, they kind of like look at you like you're crazy. Deer hunting has been, more of like a girls and guys for a little bit longer than waterfowling. But I didn't really start seeing other women starting to really participate in waterfowl hunting probably until maybe 5 or 6 years ago. Other than that, I never had any other female show any interest in doing it or knew of anybody that knew of anybody that went. So it's kind of new. I do have one friend who she goes just as much as I do, if not more. But other than that, I'm usually the only girl.
Is that daunting for you, or are you pretty much accustomed to it now?
No, I'm accustomed to it now. I mean, I can get along with anybody. I don't mind being the only girl. I like hanging out with the guys. Guys are a lot less drama than girls are. So.
You got that right.
And also, I get treated like a queen when I go.
Sure.
My husband goes with me. I don't have to, carry my own stuff. He's the gentleman. He'll pack mule it out, and I'm just, trotting along
he's old enough,
with my little walking stick.
He's older.
He's older, so he should have to.
He's old, right.
It won't be long, and you'll have to carry it for him, though, as old as he is.
Exactly, and I'm looking at alternative options. No, but it is. It's nice. I mean, if I hunt with another girl, I hunt with another girl. I've done it, maybe once or twice, and it's just like hunting with anybody else, really. And I mean, if I see other girls out there, I'm going to be honest. I think to myself, are they serious? Do they know what they're doing? Can they actually contribute? Are they just doing it for the likes or to look cool, to impress a guy? And I'm judgmental as that as another female hunter, and I probably shouldn't be. But I think to myself, do they put in as much work as I do? And if the answer is yes, I'm like, awesome. If not, I'm like, how can I help you not make a bad name for women in the sport? Because then that kind of comes into, you get, women are sponsored by all these people because they're super hot and they hunt. So then, I think it's a great marketing tool. It seriously is probably the best. She's this really pretty girl. She looks great. She has a giant buck, or she's got a fistful of ducks. And then, she's sponsored by all these people, and then they share it. And then, they have more followers and whatnot, which I think is cool. But then you get it to the other point where guys are like, oh, they just do it for the likes. These people aren't serious. And you kind of get like the stink eye, or you're not taken seriously, and they try to take advantage of you. And luckily that's never really happened to me. I've had guys say some kind of like crude stuff, but whatever, I shot more birds than they did, so they had to deal with it. But I mean, and that comes from everybody. And I'm sure other guys get that too. You get pissed off, especially on public land, if someone gets in your spot, and vice versa. So, I hear these horror stories of guys doing, really crappy things to female hunters, but I've never experienced it in my, in where I am. Usually people are like, do you hunt? That's awesome. Like, you can hunt with us, whatever. So I've been lucky. I've been really
You brought
lucky.
up a really good point, though. We have the IG girls, I'm going to call them, and the
Okay.
Instagram girls that have the little bikini pictures, and they're sponsored by like everybody you say. And a lot of them ladies, it's hard to take serious because a lot of them don't have a clue about what they're doing, but they're making bank because they're getting sponsored by everybody. And then there's the girl that's just like them. What's the girl's name that catches a catfish? Hannah Barron. Mm-hmm. She's the real deal. She hunts and does everything. Right. Well, she's got pictures of her in a bathing suit also, but she's the real deal, noodling catfish. And I think we need more women in hunting. But I think that the fake women that do that IG stuff, I think they push off other women a little bit. Am I right on that?
I would think so, yeah. I certainly would, because, again, you come across these, these supermodel girls holding the stuff, and you think to yourself, or at least I think to myself, I'm like, how serious are they? That, they probably just asked to hold the fish and their boyfriend take a picture and, whatever it may be. And it can be intimidating to other, female hunters. They're like, well, I don't look like that, or, I'm not confident enough to do that. So, maybe this isn't my niche. And I think that everybody kind of asks that question when they see those pictures. If you don't, necessarily follow that person, or have somebody say like you guys, yeah, that girl actually knows what she's doing. Then you kind of are left to wonder, well, it's like, is this person just a poser? Right. How serious are they? Are they kind of putting a bad name out there that all female hunters should be, boobs out, face down, ass up with the catfish. I mean, and I hate to say it that way, but it is. I see those pictures and it's like, man, I wish I looked that good when I was hunting, because a lot of the pictures I take, I'm like, ooh, man, can we get like a retouch package on this or something, because it needs a little bit of help. But I think everybody kind of gets that in the back of their head. Like, do they really know what they're doing? Are they really a serious hunter? Do they think about it as much as I do? Do they sit there and come up with game plans for the next day like I do? Do they put in the effort like I do? I think it's a question that everybody asks. And a lot of the times it's no, they don't. But then there are the select few that do. And those, like you said, those Instagram girls, kind of put a bad taste in people's mouths, or kind of take away the seriousness of certain female hunters and anglers. I think it's
it's more in the fishing deal than the hunting deal.
I think it's hard. I think we'll use fishing because that's really kind of where you see a lot of these discrepancies of the boyfriend caught the fish, she takes a picture with it with her boobs out. I think it makes it hard for serious people, serious outdoor women like yourself to break through. It kind of taints it to where it's everybody thinks like, she's just doing it for the likes. Kind of lumps everybody together.
Right.
We need more. You've probably got some girlfriends that are complaining because they can't meet a nice guy. Do you have girlfriends like that?
Right. Yes.
Go duck hunting. I'm telling you right now, if there's a lady and she wants to duck hunt, she can go to any boat ramp in the country and she can meet a good guy in about 5 minutes.
Right. That's what I say. I mean, that's how I met John, and some of the nicest people that I've ever met are from the hunting industry. I mean, there's a lot of good-looking guys and a lot of nice guys. So it's, when people are like, oh man, there's no nice guys out there, I'm like, you're just looking in all the wrong places.
No, that's exactly right. A lot of broke hunters, but they're nice. They got a heart of gold. They ain't got a pot to piss in, but they're nice. So tell me about the first time you stepped on stage where I got to imagine the nerves were just through the roof.
They were. I'm trying to think of what my first actual contest was. So the one that I can recall the most is the first one that I won. It was down in Virginia at Bass Pro Shops, and I went up there and they had set up a stage. It's almost kind of like, when they display their bass boats and everything. It was kind of one of those. And they had a podium, and you went up and you called, and everybody's looking at you. So it's very nerve-wracking, and it's not so much that you're standing there in front of the people. For me, it was don't mess up, don't mess up, don't mess up. I've practiced this for hours. I know how to do it. And what will mess you up is you hyping yourself up. If you can get past those nerves and just think to yourself, it's just another practice routine, relax, you can get through it. But if you hype yourself up, you would mess up. I'm just thinking I would get almost like a weak feeling in my wrists. So I would hold the call, and it was almost like a slight tremble. And I'm like, okay, if my hands do it, that's fine, but I can't have my throat do it, because then that's when I'm going to blow a note wrong, and then I will be pissed off.
And I got to imagine you were probably the only girl there at that time.
I was. Yep, I was at that time. The only time I ever blew against another female was when I was down in Arkansas and I did the Women's Worlds. That's the only time I blew against another female. All the other times were guys, and they were super nice to me. And like I said, I became friends with most of them. So a lot of good relationships came out of that.
How was that? Do you see the guys like after the contest like, motherfucker, she just whipped the shit out of me?
Some guys were a little pissed off, especially, and I keep using Arkansas. It's because, they thought I was a Yankee. Kind of am, but we are still below the Mason-Dixon.
We have that argument here with Josh all the time.
I don't know where to put you at.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So we're below it, but we're real close. So they were really pissed off. They're like, they introduce yourself. You go out before the calling contest and you just say, like your name and where you're from. Like, hi, I'm Kaleigh Meinzer, Easton, Maryland. And like everybody down there is like looking around like, where the hell is Easton, Maryland? Where is Maryland, in fact? So, you know, they're like, who's this girl from up north? And everybody else was like Searcy, Arkansas, Stuttgart, Arkansas, Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Everybody down there was from Arkansas. So when I rolled up there, they're like, who is this Yankee? And I also blew in the intermediate worlds, which I think I blew against 20-something guys, and I got 6. So for those 20 guys that I beat, they weren't very happy. And I get it. Some girl comes and beats you when you've been doing this. This is, you know, I get it. I understand why they were pissed. But I did get some of those looks and some kind of like, you know, what are you doing here? You know, this is kind of an insiders club, not just because it's for guys, but because this is Arkansas. You know what I mean? We're the best duck callers, which they usually are. So, you know, I got a little bit of that, but when I blew against the women's world, they were ruthless, man. They were ruthless. They were not as accepting as guys. They were not as friendly as the guys. I really got some looks when I was blowing against the other women. I remember specifically one girl, I'm not going to say her name, but she got down, like crouched down, had her hands. She was like talking to herself, getting like real into it right before she was up and like bouncing around. Like I think she took some pre-workout or something. And she was like really in it, and she blew it. She sounded not the greatest. She gave it her best go, and she got cut after the first round, and she was like talking trash about everybody else that made it and was just saying some really nasty stuff.
She's going to be a crazy cheerleader mom one day.
Probably so. Like, yeah, Little League. Like, what the hell was that? You know, throwing her drink at the umpire. But I mean, everybody was really friendly down there. There was that one crazy chick, you know, when she came out, my parents said she was dropping the F-bomb left and right, you know, for the whole world to see, embarrassing herself. But, you know, steep competition. And I thought I had it in the bag because I did my research, who was going to be there. You know, and for myself, judging myself, I said, okay, I think I have a pretty good chance. Well, a really, really good duck caller showed up there. She was probably in her early 20s at the time. Her name was Hallie Horton. And I had never heard her call before. I didn't even know she existed. And she came down there and she blew me out of the water. I mean, she was amazing. She sounded just as good as, you know, the guys in the senior contest. And she won, and I got second place, and I was very upset about it. I was a sore loser. You know, I wasn't mean or didn't do anything. I'm not going to lie. I may have shed a tear or two because I was, you know, so pumped up about it. I was finally able to go to Arkansas. But at the end, you know, she was somebody to really look up to because she was amazing, truly amazing.
How old were you at the time?
Let's see, 2013. I was like 15 or 16.
It's when her husband started messaging her.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta imagine as like a.
No, I was 18. Okay. I was 18.
So,
but I gotta imagine as like a 15 or a 16-year-old, like any time that you're on the big stage like that, and you know, you said you shed a tear. Well, that's understandable. You're on the big stage and you got second, and you're an adolescent, so.
In a big stage.
On a big stage like that, getting second place.
Very impressive.
Very impressive. Shouldn't have been sad tears.
Go ahead.
Should have been happy tears.
It should have been, and I think what I was upset about was, you know, we were in my family was in a financial place where it was like I knew it was probably my only shot at going, and so I was like, man, like, you know, I'm not going to be able to come back, but, you know, I'm at the position now where, you know, I have my own job. I'm married. You know, he and I are doing pretty well. So if I really wanted to, I could go back now. I would just have a lot of practicing to do. But, you know, there's always, you know, another day. And as you get older, you kind of realize that when you're a kid and everything, you're like, you think it's the end of the world. But I got over it. She's, you know, my hat's off to her. She seriously sounded amazing. I was really impressed. And there's always going to be somebody better than you. There's always going to be things that you don't expect. It's just like you said, when you get older, you start to learn to take your licks a little bit better, and you just move on and use that as, you know, fuel to make yourself better and to push harder.
Were you thinking about all this stuff like before you went on stage, like, oh, fuck, this is going to be my only shot down here? my parents have spent all this money on me for this trip. Like, are you thinking about that as you walk up before you even blow your first note?
I wasn't necessarily thinking about maybe all that in specifics, but I was thinking to myself, this is my shot. I know the work I've put into it. I know all the people rooting for me. I know all the people who put the time in to help me. This is it, Kaleigh.
Yeah.
Like this is your chance. And I put so much pressure on myself. I can't remember. I didn't get cut for it. But I did. I squeaked the call on one note because I was trembling. So I was trembling inside, like my throat just like closed, and I squeaked a little note, and I was so mad at myself. That's my only regret about the whole thing, is if I blew a perfectly clean routine and still got second, which I honestly, and being honest with myself, I definitely would have still gotten second, because she was just that good. I just wish I blew just a fully clean routine so I could have, done my 110%. But things happen. I was young. I was a little freaked out, but that's not an excuse. And like I said, if I want to do it again, I can always go try again. So
that's right. Have you ever went into a store and wanted to blow a call and the guys kind of look at you like you don't know what the hell you're doing until you pick it up?
Oh yeah.
I bet that's
fun.
hilarious. I bet that is hilarious.
It is. Like they like look at me and they're like, okay. And then I blow it and they're like, oh, okay. Like, you know what you're doing. And a lot of the times I'm not doing it just because I'm like, watch this. I'm like, I actually want to try it. It's a call I've never tried before. And, they just kind of look at you and they're like, they usually don't say anything. They just, they don't look as skeptical. Or they don't really look like, oh, this person's just being dumb, or, they're wasting my time. They're like, oh, okay. And then they'll just kind of, thank you, have a nice day. But they do, you kind of see that look in their eyes. You're like, yeah, okay. And then they're like,
because
okay.
you don't expect a woman or a child to be able to blow a call like you do. And I mean, I
Right,
don't mean that bad.
right.
That's just the honest to God truth. They don't see it often.
And you were both at one
Right,
time.
exactly.
Yeah.
You were a child and a woman blowing these calls like this. So
Right.
you were double surprising.
Now, can you blow a
Right.
goose call very well?
I can blow it to get geese in, but I'm nowhere near, I can't do like train notes. I can't do anything fancy.
Now, when a lot of people, anybody a caller at your level, you can pick up any call and make it sound good. That's a fact. People that can blow a call can. So you can pick a goose call up and make it work too a little bit, run. And goose calling's a lot harder than duck calling. Do you agree?
I would definitely agree. For sure, especially when you get to, like the competition level, that stuff's crazy. Like the cadences that these guys put together, blows my mind. The stuff that my husband can do, I've been trying to get him to teach me how to do it for 6 years, and he's trying to teach me, and I'm getting pissed off because I can't do it. And he's doing the same thing with me, trying to teach him how to do like a bouncing hen on a duck call, and he can't do it, so he gets pissed off. But it is. I would definitely say that goose calling's probably harder than duck calling.
Who's the best goose caller you know?
The best goose caller I know, I'm going to have to say Trevor Shanahan.
God almighty, you shouldn't have said that shit. God. His head's already so swolled up.
I know he's not going to be able to fit through a door now,
gosh.
but
Everybody listening.
I do. I'll give a dude his dues. I think that the best, goose caller I think I've ever heard is definitely probably Trevor. And he's also an extremely talented duck caller. And I think that if anybody could win both the World Duck and World Goose, if they were really serious about it, I think Trevor could pull it off.
When we do our numbers on this, the logistics on this, when she said Trevor Shanahan, it just went, people said, screw it, I'm hanging out, I ain't listening to her shit no more. Now, he is very, 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 very good.
He says he's not doing the duck anymore.
Right. I haven't talked to him in a pretty long time, but I know that last time I did, he was really, just trying to get his 3 goose titles. But he got pretty daggone close. Was it 2 years ago when he was down in Stuttgart? He was in like the top 3, I think. So he got pretty daggone close. So again, if anybody could, pull off both titles, it would probably be Trevor if he really set his mind to it.
How'd you get involved with the Big Honker podcast? Just curious.
So, like, I think I was talking to you guys at some point. I was like in my living room, and my husband was doing something like back in the bedroom, like he was cleaning out the closet or something. And I just heard he has a loudspeaker, and I just hear like F this, F that, like all this noise. I'm
Jeff
like,
must have been
what
talking.
in the hell is he listening to? So I go back there, and he's like, I'm listening to a podcast. I'm like, well, what is it? He's like, it's Big Honker Podcast. I'm like, God, they're cussing a lot, aren't they? He's like, yeah, but it's pretty good. You'll have to listen to it. So I started listening to it with him, and then, I just really, tried to follow it as much as I could, when I get free time or we're driving down the road, we got a long trip, we'll turn it on and, just listen to it.
We have a lot of women that listen to it. Their husbands will say that, and it always kind of surprises me.
It's like punishment, I think, is what it is. Listen, sit over there in the passenger seat and
just shut up and listen.
I'm going to play this.
Right. And you're just, looking out the window like, Jesus, is this going to end? Save me, now, Father, please take me.
So,
No, it's good. You all have a lot of good content, and I like listening to when you have like special guests and everything. It's good to hear, in my opinion, everybody's experiences in their little area. I think it was, I can't remember which podcast it was that you all had. I think it was the like Team Bufflehead episode or something.
Yeah.
And you were saying like you all get a lot of comments from people after they listen to it. They're like, no, that's not how it is at all. But you were saying everybody's experiences are different because of the area that they are, the social, groups that they're a part of. Everybody's experience is different. And so I really related to that because I could talk about things that happen here within I think you said like a 50-mile radius or whatever. And I go to the Western Shore and somebody's going to have a completely different experience, but we're in the same state, hunting the same birds. So again, it's just different. What everybody experiences is different.
We would catch a lot of flack over that. And finally, like, I just had to put out a disclaimer. Like, if I'm talking about hunting, I'm talking about my little world. What works here might not work for you. And what you're telling me is killing birds, I probably wouldn't try in a million years. But, if it's working in your area, keep fucking doing it. Like, I'm just sharing my experience, and that's all that I can do. I can't tell you anything else other than that.
Right. Yeah, that's for sure. And I mean, our little area that we hunt, we don't hunt, we hunt within 50 miles every time of, where we live in that, little circumference area. And we're not really doing anything different until, we take these hunting trips. John and I were talking and we're like, we're at the point now, we're like, do we want kids? We don't know. So for now, we're like, let's just do a really badass hunting trip every year. Travel somewhere, get those different hunting experiences, just so we can live a little bit and learn about what it's like in different areas. Like I said, we went to Idaho last year. We're looking at going to California this year, in this December, trying to get some cinnamon teal and some, pintail out there. And just keep doing that and learning about everybody else's experiences that they have. How do they hunt? How do they set their decoys? Do they use motion decoys? If so, are they using mojos or are they using the agitators or are they using jerk cords? And do you set big spreads out or do you use just little spreads? It just changes with everybody in the location they hunt, just what the birds want that day and that spot.
I'll tell you what, we had a husband and wife last year here that were, I think they were Pennsylvania. They shot cranes a couple of days. Okay. They shot geese.
A little bit of everything.
They shot a little bit of everything, and it was things they don't have there. Because I guess there's no sandhill crane hunting nowhere on the east coast that I know of.
No, nothing. Not that I'm aware of anyway.
But they wanted to shoot cranes. We shot cranes. They shot specklebelly. I know tell them what their taxidermy bill was when they left here. But they had a really good time. But I think that's really special that y'all can do that. Y'all on the kid deal. Let me tell you something. Those are the most expensive pets in the world are fucking kids. And then after you get them out, then the grandkids come and they're worse than the damn kids are. So do it.
Yeah, I have a 2-year-old nephew now who it's like anytime I have that slight inclination of all babies, I just like go and see him. It's the perfect birth control. I can return them, not my problem. Come home to my dog. We have a 3-year-old black lab named Layla that we trained duck hunting ourselves. And her downfall was us. When we first got her, we grew up with hounds, so we had no idea what the hell waterfowl retrieving was besides the youngest out of the pit. You were the retriever, which unfortunately was me because I married an old man. So I got to play the dog. So I said, you know what, I'm tired of being out of breath. Let's get, a real four-legged companion. So we got her and we trained her, ourselves. And again, her downfall was us not knowing what we were doing. So now we're at the point like she's almost there, but we need somebody to help us push her over the edge. So we're, probably going to take her to a professional trainer now that we're in a little bit of a better financial situation, now that we're a little more settled down. So, just doing those different things, experiencing different things, spoiling our dog like she's a real human being. We enjoy doing that. And, if we keep continuing to do that for the rest of our lives, so be it. And if a little waterfowl hunter comes along the way sometime, not in the near future, I repeat, not in the near future.
You're jinxing yourself.
It'll be, but
What?
Right. Let me knock on wood.
What is your dog, what's your dog lacking? Well, you said you need to finish it. What is it not doing?
So she is weird when it's bird. So we didn't force fetch her. I chickened out. I know a lot of people have different feelings on force fetch. They say, "Oh, you don't need it," or "You do need it." I like force
fetching.
Right. I couldn't I'm a chicken. I'm like, I'm not doing that to her. She's going to hate me. I don't want her to associate me with that. I'm not going to do it. John was like, he pretends that, poor John, I know he's going to come back and listen to this. He pretends that he's, some big hard guy and the hell with the dog. But he kind of felt the same way. And like I said, we weren't really in the financial situation to send her off and have it done. So we didn't force fetch her. So when she's retrieving birds on water, there's no problem. She'll get them because she doesn't really have a choice but to hold on to them. And she'll bring them back. But she'll drop it as soon as she gets on land. To me, that's not a big deal. I didn't have to go swim through the ice, whatever. I can take 2 steps and pick it up. Not a big deal to me. But when she's on ground, she will, she's kind of hesitant to pick it up. And when she does, she may not carry it all the way. She might drop it. We have to tell her to fetch again, and she'll bring it back. And then sometimes she gets a little, confused if it's a multiple birds, if, we're good enough at shooting that day to where we're able to knock down more than one bird. She'll get the first one, come back, sit down and look at you like, I got that one. This one's yours, bud. So just a little bit of that. And again, that's our downfall. We've talked to some trainers and they said, yeah, it's probably because you didn't do force fetch. And a little, some of the times if it's blind retrieves, because we didn't properly teach her casting. So that's something that we're working with a trainer right now. That she's a smart learner. So I have no doubt in my mind that if we sent her away from the get-go, she'd be an amazing duck dog. But it was, our shortcomings that passed along to her. So this next one, we said, we're just sending it to the trainer. We're going to have, someone do it the right way.
Did you name her after Eric Clapton's song?
Layla.
So we actually looked up like an AKC list of female dog names, and Layla was on there. And my husband's like, "Oh yeah, I love that song by Eric Clapton." So yes and no.
Force fetching, it is. So I force fetched my dog with my grandfather Ron, and it wasn't as bad as I had prepared myself for, because I don't. It's weird, and you can see when the light bulb starts to click in their head. Like when I grab this, the pressure goes away. So I had prepared myself for the worst, blood. Just all sorts of shit. Like I didn't know what it was going to be, and it wasn't that. So I know a lot of people will do like the ear, the pinch the ear. We did the toe hitch, and that seemed to work a little bit better. But I mean, really, it's a little whine, because I mean, you don't want to just rip the dog's leg off, but it's a little whine, and then they do what they're supposed to do, and you let the pressure go. So I was like you. Whenever he said, "Okay, now it's time to force fetch," I was like, "Oof. I might have to bow out. You might have to do this." But I sat in on a couple sessions, and it wasn't what I thought it was. And it definitely goes a long way in the dog's career.
I've watched 1,000 dogs. No, not 1,000. Hundreds of dogs be force fetched from my dad over the years. And I can tell you right now, it's the hardest stage for people to do. But if you let someone do it that knows what they're doing, it's a whole lot better than trying to do it and not knowing what you're doing.
Right. Yeah.
It's not something for someone to learn to do.
No, kudos. No, you had it right by not doing it on your own. If you weren't comfortable doing it, it's not something that you should do. So let me get that out there before I get fucking hate mail for that. If you're not comfortable force fetching your dog, don't force fetch your dog. Send it off somewhere, or just do like y'all did and, make the best out of it. And it sounds like she's doing okay.
Right. Yeah, I mean, she does. She's brought plenty of birds back, and like I said, she does the job that I sure as hell don't want
Yeah.
to do. I don't want to, break ice after a bird and, go in water that's over my head. She'll do it. She looks miserable while she's doing it. She's about 65 pounds, and she knows that she'll get a McDonald's hash brown at the end of the day. So that gives a little bit of something to look forward to. But she does the job that, we taught her to do. It could be better. She's a smart dog. So I've, no doubt in my mind that once we really get into, training her with the trainer this off season, that next season she'll be, like a brand new dog. So I can't complain.
Does the trainer that you're talking to, does he act like it's going to be, like it's okay? Like he can force fetch her at 3 years old?
Yeah, so I actually called a bunch of trainers around just to kind of get an idea of what they would say with a 3-year-old dog. She just turned 3, and I know 3 is 3, but she's early into her 3-year-old stage. And I heard a little bit of mixed, no, your dog's too old. I heard that from one person, I won't take anything but a puppy. And then I've also heard, 3 years old, they're still, they're young, they're still impressionable. Right. There's no reason why we can't teach them that. They'll, and they just won't assume that. They'll ask me questions about her. Like, what does she do with this? Does she break down? How is she under pressure? These different kinds of questions. And when they ask that and I answer it, they seem to think that the guy who I'm working with now seems to think that she won't have an issue. So, that was good. I was glad to hear that because, she's only 3. I don't want her to think that she hasn't done a good job, go out and get a different dog and have her just sit inside when she loves to do it.
You're getting a little.
She loves to do it.
You're getting a little deep there.
I don't think that more of a critical thinker. What's your dream hunt? What's on the bucket list that you want to do?
Probably. Let me think. Man, I got a lot. If I could have one hunt, it would probably be, and see, I kind of hunted over it, but not specifically in Idaho. I've always wanted to do, I did some like a little bit of flooded corn, but I want to do a dry field shooting mallards, pintails, and widgeon.
Amen.
Dry field standing corn.
Amen, sister.
So what all did y'all do in Idaho?
So yeah, it was very cool. So we hunted like an irrigation pond at one point in in a panel blind, and I was just amazed by how many birds were working us. And I mean, here again, it goes to different experiences. This might be different 100 miles from here, but here, birds don't want to hear you talk. So when you call, it's very, very like just a few chuckles, a few quacks, you're done. Ducks don't want to be talked to where I hunt. Out there, you get to scream at them. You get to work birds. You have, them circle you 3 or 4 times, hundreds of them, and they just commit and they're right in your face. So as a duck caller, I was in absolute, ecstasy out there. Being able to actually call at the birds and to work birds like that was amazing. So we did that irrigation pond the first day. We did really well there. And then the remaining days, the guy had an island that we hunted, and he had a flooded impoundment on that island. And it was an area where they got a lot of traffic. So if the birds were hungry and they were in the area, they were probably going to come check you out. So I think he had some flooded, I think it was some milo in there and some regular corn that we hunted over. But yeah, and he has the spots to hunt dry fields, but it's really a late season thing out there. I'm sure it's kind of the same thing for you all. When the water's frozen up, they go to the fields to eat. So if we were there later, I want to say December, January, we probably would have been able to kill some birds in the dry field, but we went in November and the water was still open. So the birds were hitting the fresh water.
Did you kill some widgeons and pintails then? Or was it all mallards?
No pintail. We killed like 2 widgeon. We killed one green-winged teal, but everything else was mallards.
Dream
hunt. Great hunt.
It was a great hunt.
I can tell you so we have 2 kids, a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old. If you want to travel, get all the traveling out now because it grinds to a halt. But in our little community, you see so many, or not even in the community, just around this area, people get married and then they have kids within 6 months of marriage. And it's like, motherfucker, what are you in a hurry for?
Right.
Like, it's a big ass
Right.
world out there. Go look at some of it. And you got
It
5 or
is.
6 years, or shit, you can have kids into your 30s. Like, just go experience things with your partner.
Yeah, but her husband's awful old now.
He is old. I forget about this little small detail.
Yeah, and that's what I've talked about. I'm like, I'm 24, he's 30. And, and also, I'm sorry, John, I keep bringing you up like this. His mom was like, when we first started, she's like, oh, the age difference doesn't bother me. You're both on the same mental level. And I was like, yeah, thank you. And he's like, what the hell, Mom?
She's 16, you're 22.
So, right, exactly. Yeah, so he was my age when we first met. So I was 18 and he was 24.
Did you take him to prom with you?
No, I graduated high school before we met, luckily. So fresh out, but I was out. So that he gets, pointers for that. But, we kind of talked about it. It's like, my parents had me in their 30s. His parents had him in his late 30s. And, we're both not ready for it. And we both want to do these really cool hunting trips that we might not, necessarily be able to do, if we did have, mini-me's running around. So, again, I want to do, a hunting trip every year if we're able to do it. And for some reason, if that changes, we'll have those memories to look back at and then, save up and, schedule something for the future. So I'm looking forward to it. California, I really want to kill a cinnamon teal. Obviously, we don't have that where I am. And we get pintails some, but obviously not like the California deltas do. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, your main duck's what? The black duck? A lot of black ducks where you are?
Yep, a lot of black ducks, predominantly black ducks, as in puddle ducks. We have really good gadwall numbers. We have a fair amount of widgeon. I'd like to see more, as most people would, but primarily black ducks. And I don't know how far out you guys listen to other podcasts, but I heard one from Ramsey Russell's, and they had a biologist on there, the Get Ducks podcast. And he had a biologist named Phil Lavretsky from the University of Texas, El Paso. And it's a long podcast, but if anybody's super into biology, it's something to listen to. The mallards that are on the Atlantic Flyway are not true mallards. They are genetically different than the mallards that are in like the central, like even the Mississippi, in the Mississippi Central Pacific Flyways. The mallards that we have here are all genetically identical to mallards that came from Europe that were penned
What's
up.
the name of those ducks? There's a name for them.
Oh, you got
and
me
I
there.
can't think of
don't
the name
know.
of it right now, but I've read that before. Ramsey's he's a friend of ours. He's been on with us. Ramsey's an interesting guy, and I bet it is a long podcast because Ramsey likes to talk.
Right. He is. He's a real good guy.
Very good guy.
Actually hunted with my buddy over here when he was doing the tour of the U.S. out in Delaware. I got him hooked up with a buddy of ours, and I wanted to meet him. So my husband and I went out to dinner with he and his son Forrest, and we talked. And he was saying he wants to come back and be able to do some more stuff. But it's a cool podcast. And when I tell people that, they're like, I don't care. It quacks like a mallard and it looks like a mallard, so it is a mallard. I'm like, yeah. But me being like super like anal about this stuff, I told my husband, I said, I want to shoot a genetically pure mallard. So that's why we went out to the Pacific Flyway and I shot one. So I'm going to get that mounted. So I have my fake mallard from Maryland and then my real mallard from Idaho.
I'll think of the name. I can't think of the name. Ramsey's a cool dude. He's one of the most interesting people in America, though. He is.
He really
very
is. He's very
interesting guy. Very interesting guy.
I'm looking up. I'm trying to find it, but I can't find it this fast. So the pressure's on me now, and I can't find what it's called.
There's a mallard duck that's got blue in its that gets blue on its bill, and it is a zoo duck that's gotten out in the wild, and they've interbred with a lot of ducks, and I cannot think of the damn name of them, but I've heard that before, and I'm sure there's some that are genetically the same, but I mean you don't know what you're going to do. I mean, you don't know what you're getting into.
Right.
But a mallard will sleep with anything.
Right. And so that was one of the points on this podcast. I think it was called More Than a Mallard or something, and it was talking about like the genealogy of black ducks and the interbreeding with hybrids and everything of black ducks. But then it also went into the very specifics of mallard DNA. And which blew my mind because for the longest time I'm like, oh, mallards, they're all over the place, but they're, genetically they're prairie pothole birds. and the Atlantic Flyway, we just don't have, naturally, we don't have that type of landscape. We have the saltwater marshes, which are your black ducks. And they talked about how black ducks got here. It was, when the continental shift and everything, and mallards got trapped up in like the boreal forest, they naturally adapted to get darker plumage because it's a dark, dense forest, and that's what a black duck is. And that's why, they had to learn how to survive in the ecology and everything that we have on the East Coast. And so that's where a black duck came from. And this was, hundreds of years ago, but it's a fascinating podcast. That stuff just blows my mind. I love listening to it and learning about it, nerd out on that stuff. But it was a really cool thing.
Their language is a lot better over there also on that channel.
They're much more professional than us.
Yes.
Right.
I had a kid talking to me today about that. He shoots mallards in northeast Texas, and he said our ducks are smaller. The mallards we shoot early in the season are smaller compared to the ducks we get into the year. And he said when the migrating ducks, he said, because I don't think the ducks we're getting are coming very far. There's a lot of city ducks. I mean, what was it in California? The guy told us the other day there's 500,000 mallards that stay just in California.
All of the ducks that California shoots, or all the mallards, I should say. I shouldn't say all the ducks, but all the mallards that California shoots are residents to California. We just had a biologist on from California, Brian Huber.
No, hold on. I think you misspoke. They still shoot some migrating ducks, but the majority of mallards that they're shot in California never leave the state of California. They're locals.
I'd have to go look.
But they do kill. They have some mallards come from the north and migrate in, but a big portion of the ducks killed in California they have 500,000 mallards that live year round in California, he said.
Really? Wow. And I would think that, in all honesty, I would think that about a lot of our black ducks. I think, and this is I have no, degree saying that I'm right with my assumption. Just people I've talked to and the things that I've seen again in my little teeny niche. I think most, and I'm talking about black ducks here. I think most of the migrating black ducks kind of cut off on Jersey. Mm-hmm. New Jersey, I think that's kind of the end of where they stay. And I think, some obviously trickle down here and, trickle a little bit south of us. But I think the majority of the black ducks that we shoot, at least that I know of and what I've experienced, are local population black ducks.
What was the bill that they recently put forward in Maryland? Was it for the sink boat hunting?
Yep. So that was, I can't remember the bill number, but they pulled it. It was taken off of the committee schedule to vote, which usually means that it's pulled by the sponsor. And that was basically, so the flats in the Susquehanna Flats, it was to make a certain area body booting only. Mm-hmm. And the reason, I see both sides to the argument. The only reason that they did that was because body booting, you're standing on the natural bottom. And there's only so much natural bottom you can stand on before you go over your head. So there's, in these areas where you can stand, they wanted it so you could only body boot it. So that way the pumpkin seed boats and the layout boats aren't, in the same area you are, because they have the entire flats that they can hunt because they don't have to touch bottom. The body booters were, upset because these boats can go anywhere on the flats, but I only have this little bit of area that I can stand, the only area of natural bottom where I can stand and not be over my head and hunt. So that was what that bill wanted to do, was to make a specific area body booting only. But, they, as you saw, probably there was petitions that people were signing from all over the country. So that didn't work out this year.
I mean, just from the way that you've explained it, they were looking out for the body booter. The boat people were the ones that were creating such a stink, I'm assuming?
Yes. Yep.
Interesting. So where do you stand on it? You said you can see both sides of it.
That's a hard question. So, I've body booted before, and I know that it's tough trying to find, especially tidal, 3 hours from when you started, it was at your knees, and next thing you know, you're about to go over your waders. So there's only, so many places and for how long you can do it. But I think that, God, I don't really know where I stand on it. I see their point, and I see the point of both sides where you can kind of go anywhere, but you got to follow the birds. And if they're not, any but where you can stand, I think that maybe, you should be able to pull your boat up there and lay out. But then I see, if you're body booting and that's, you're kind of your main thing and you only have so many places to do it, then I can see where you would be upset that somebody's kind of encroaching on your space. So I'm kind of in the middle on it. I think that it's maybe something that the government shouldn't regulate, because then you could, open the can of worms to really over-regulate everything else, every other type of hunting.
Sure.
And that could be, all over the country as well, because as you guys know, one state will say, oh, well, so-and-so state does that. That's a good idea. Let's piggyback off of their legislation and, kind of just change around things that are for, particularly our state. So I think that it's kind of like a sticky issue. I had heard rumor that the DNR was kind of fed up with that area anyway. So there's, they could possibly eventually shut down that area to hunting as a whole. And again, that's rumor. I don't know the truth to it. If, they did something like that, I'm sure that would be overturned, because there would be such a stink about it. And it's obviously a part of our history and culture here. But then again, who knows? These people make decisions every day. What are we going to do?
I think it's public land. If whatever's good for I don't think you can
cherry pick who's in there.
No, that's the word I'm looking for. Cherry pick. Thank you. Yeah, you can't cherry pick how they're in. It's either public land. It's either that or it's not. So
exactly.
It's like telling a guy on some public land you can deer hunt here, but you can't shoot turkeys. Or why can't I? If it's open to the public, it should be open to the public.
But aren't there places that are public land that you can't take a boat into?
Yes.
Not in Texas.
There's not in Texas.
Not that I'm aware
not anywhere in
Not in
Texas
Texas.
where
I'm not gonna
it's walk in only.
We're a big state. I'm not going to say that there's not, but I think in Texas, if you have access to public water, you can go anywhere as long as you're in that water.
Now we do have some hunting areas here. They're wildlife management areas, so they're run by the state, and they did get they did some work with like partnerships with some conservation groups. You can take a boat out, but you can't use a gasoline motor. You could use a trolling motor, but you can't use any other means of power transportation.
We don't have all them problems here. We're completely different like that. I'm not saying that's not right and that's not wrong. I'm just saying I don't know of anywhere in Texas like that. I'm sure there's some places on the Texas coast you can do certain things that you can't do in other places. I think there's some the ways you can harvest oysters that you can't do. But I don't. In Texas, as far as I know, if you got public access on a boat, you can hunt on it. You can stay in your boat. And so I just think you're opening up a can of worms on that deal.
Here's where I stand. And I've not researched this, so I'm kind of talking out of my ass here, and I'm going off of what you've told me. I think you got to look at the numbers on how many people body boot and all that shit, and if it's not very many people and they're in the minority, then listen, I'm sorry, but we're just going to keep doing it the way that we've been doing it.
I've never heard of the term body boot until this thing, ever.
Well, you're just not with it.
Yep. So that's the old school, I was going to say Habitat Flats. That's not what I'm saying here. The Susquehanna Flats, that's really where it was kind of born, at least of my knowledge. And, I may not be the most educated on it, which maybe I should be. But then you say, okay, well, you can't, if the bill did pass and, you were only allowed to body boot in these certain areas, then the body booting numbers are going to come up, because if there's a will, there's a way. And if these people want to hunt the ducks, then you have 20 body booting rigs next to each other, and you're pulling each other's birds, and you might have birds working and the group next to you might have birds working, and then you shoot and then you flare their birds. And I think that it would just kind of be a mess, especially if it's in a designated area. It might be a little tight. And body booting, you usually are hunting with a hell of a lot of decoys because you need mass. So it would require a lot of space.
So what do? You just stand out there, and then as the tide comes up, just pray that it doesn't go over your chest?
Yeah, you gotta, navigating the Chesapeake Bay is very complicated. A lot of people die out there because of that, because it's so unpredictable. But you usually want to go when the tide, when the times that I've done it, the people I've been with, you want to go when the tide is low, not only for your sake, so you're not about to wash away, but it's easier for the birds to access the grasses that they're eating. And you kind of got to know how high it does get. I've had it before where we kind of had to pack up and go because I'm short. I'm only 5'5". It was like right to my waiter line, and I was getting a little nervous. And then, everybody else, the tide was coming in pretty good. So you stand there and you do pray that it doesn't go over, and you want to have your boat close so that if the tide starts coming in super fast, that you can pick up, get out of the water and then use your boat to pick up your decoys.
I'm so thankful that we don't have a whole lot of water to hunt here because it scares me. That is not how I want to go out in this world. I do not want to go out drowning or getting burned up in a fire. Those are the two. If I can avoid those two, I'll be good. So I don't know that I could. I don't know that I could body boot.
And that's the Susquehanna Flats, is what you call it.
Yep, the Susquehanna Flats.
I've got a book, and I've never read it, about the Susquehanna Flats. I'm going to have to look it up now tonight. I know I've seen it a couple of times because I've always heard that term, but I always thought it was in South Carolina is where I thought that was.
Nope. Yep. So it's the upper. It touches the Western Shore as well, but it's claimed by the Haverty Grace Decoy Museums on the Eastern Shore, and so that's its big thing. That's where you see all those sink boxes they originally came from, punt guns, market hunting. There's a really good book that you should read. It's called The Outlaw Gunner, and they kind of give you got that. Yep, that's a great book that gives you an insight onto what was going on here and why conservation really became something that was needed. One shot, you kill 300 canvasbacks. I mean, what are you going to do? But where'd all our ducks go? Well,
I read an interesting story about that where they were taking the ducks and they would shoot them with them punt guns and they would put them canvasbacks on a train and take them to New York City and they would sell them the next morning.
Yep, that's exactly what they would do. Baltimore was a big thing too, and it's not anything to be proud of, but just kind of cool as a historical standpoint. My husband's great uncles or something were market gunners, which an outlaw gunner, and they would take canvasbacks and they would load it up in the trunk of their car and drive it up to the city of Baltimore and sell it.
It's crazy.
I mean,
that's the way
different
things
times
were back then. Yeah, it's different times. I mean,
right.
That's kind of what this woke culture, they don't understand. It was a different time for whatever you're talking about. Right. Way, they were trying to feed their families.
And now it's
you did what you had to do.
They didn't have government checks and housing back then. You was hungry and homeless if you didn't provide for yourself. Well, hey,
that's right. I mean, if I was hungry enough, I'd stick some nails and everything else down a cannon, and I'd shoot some damn ducks too. I mean,
I've never been hungry enough to have to eat a duck, but I hope I never will be.
It'll be a sad time in America if that day comes where Jeff is eating duck to stay alive.
You don't like duck?
No. Why? They sell beef.
Man, I tell you what, I made some duck fajitas the other night, and they were killer.
Do you leave the skin on?
Yes.
That's the ticket, I hear.
It is. So I just recently started leaving the skin on. I would, just breast them out and take the skin off because it's, it is kind of easier to clean them without having to pluck all the damn feathers out, and you're out there a little bit longer leaving skin on. But it really adds to the flavor, leaving the skin on. What did I do? I did a widgeon, and I left the skin on, and I seared it skin down first, and I cooked it like medium rare, about medium. I get a little weirded out with stuff like that. But I did teriyaki sauce and some brown sugar, and I just let it marinate in that, and then I just kept kind of basting the widgeon breast with the skin on with that, and then flipped it and then served it like that, and that was really good. The skin was crispy, had a really good flavor. And I think a big mistake that people make is they overcook the duck, because again, I was like the one that was like, it's a wild animal, like I don't know, I don't want it to have worms, like cook that thing to where it's like rubber. And you lose a lot of the taste, and I wasn't crazy over it until I started cooking it differently, and then I've kind of, adapted my taste buds. So
you just got to have it cooked right.
I saw a guy cooking, he had skin on mallards, and he was cooking them the other day on something I was watching.
Looked delicious.
And he cut them real thin. It was red and bloody like a steak. And I said, that looks good, but it tastes like a fucking duck, so I'm not eating it.
I don't know. Next year, I'm going skin on, and I'm cooking. I'm doing I'm going to do the fajitas.
Yeah, I mean, they were really good. Another thing that we do is bacon wrapped goose bites on the grill. That's really good with barbecue sauce. It is. You just got to find ways that you like it. And I mean, the only way you do that is by trying different things. I don't think I could eat it with blood dripping out of it. And I mean, it might taste okay, but it's like a mental thing for me. That just kind of freaks me out. And I don't even eat steak like that. So.
You're cooking a steak well done?
No, not well done. Medium well. I have a little.
That's close to ruining beef, though.
I know. I get grief about it, but I don't know. I think of mad cow disease, and I don't want like worms in my brain. So
add mad cow disease to the list of ways I don't want to die.
Yeah.
Right. And we have a guy down in like an area that we hunt who will literally eat everything. He was boiling a raccoon one time, and he told us that it had rabies. And we're like, and you're going to eat it? He said, oh, if you boil the hell out of it, you'll be fine. I'm like, okay.
That's damn sure not the way you want to go with rabies.
And you can go get another raccoon pretty easily, I feel like. Like, they're everywhere. You don't have to cook that one. Right. That one can go to the trash can.
Exactly. I'm like, this dude must be hungry. Here's some ducks. Save yourself.
So you've been an excellent guest. We've enjoyed having you on here.
Thank you
got
for reaching out for us.
Yes.
Thank you for reaching out to us. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you,
and we
guys.
appreciate you listening to us, and you can tell other women about us, please.
I sure will. I will. Thanks, guys, for having me.
I want you to get back on the stage soon.
I've honestly thought about it. It's come in and out of my mind, and I'm not saying that it's completely out, and I'm not saying that I'm going to do it, but I do think about it sometimes. I really do.
Well, do it now, because you don't want to get to be 20 years down the road and regret you didn't try it again. You owe yourself that much. Very true. You have a wonderful day, and have a great off season, and holler at us this fall and give us an update on how things are going.
All right, sounds good, guys. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, thank you. See ya.
And then...
Very, very, very interesting lady.
Yes, it was. Very fun. Very, very fun.
Very good podcast.
Yeah.
Had to bring up Trevor Shanahan. God almighty, never heard the end of that shit now.
Listen, Trevor can be a bit much online.
No, I don't pay no attention to him.
But
he's the real deal.
Listen, I consider him a friend, so people can come after me too, I guess.
He's a good guy. He just knows how to push people's buttons.
And I think that's what he does it for. Well, I think he's just like you.
I enjoy pushing buttons.
I think that you two are kindred spirits, actually, because I think that a lot of shit that y'all say online is just to create a reaction.
Why would we do that?
Because you like pushing people's fucking buttons and getting them riled up, and then you both of you like ruining people's day. I feel like
it's not ruining the day; it's trying to make them thicker.
No,
skinned.
It's ruining their day, is what it is. But
I don't understand.
Trevor is the real deal.
I don't understand why people get so caught up in what someone else thinks about them that ruins their day.
Right.
I have never had an argument on Facebook with anybody that ruined my day.
Really?
No,
not ever.
Not that I can remember. Not that it.
I don't think. I mean, I haven't either.
Not
but
that
I'm not.
I don't let somebody's opinion. Oh, you're an asshole, Jeff. Well, yeah, I am.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing they're going to say that's going to eat at me. Anyways, that's all I have. I'm going to find out who's called 27 times.
27 fucking times. Thank goodness for these fucking mute buttons. Maybe it's all hunch, Jeff. You ever
I had a guy texting me about a hunt too.
By God, why aren't you answering your phone? Is that what he said?
If y'all want November dates, you better holler at me pretty quick. We open November 13th next year, or we're supposed to. They're not going to change that.
You think we do?
Yeah, that's when we're going to open again. I can promise you. And then the next year, it'll probably go down again.
Oh.
But anyways, this year it's going to be November 13th. I can 100% guarantee you that.
100% down bar guarantee.
Yep. Anyways.
So, what's the number, Jeff? Tell people how the fuck are they supposed to get a hold of you if they don't have a number?
940-658-3172.
Perfect.
Is the office. Holler at me. Talk to you later. God bless y'all. Have a great week.
Check out, goddamn knocking shit over. Check out all of our sponsors. Check out Blind Grass. Check out 14 Cattle Company, Athletic Brewing Company, Foul Bandit, Stanfield Hunting Outfitters, Gundog Outdoors, Pacific Calls, Dive Bomb Industries, Dirty Duck Coffee, Boss Shot Shells, Looking Glass Duck Club, Lucky Duck, 14 Cattle Co., and William and Chris Wines.